Hey guys, Comic Boom here to review Justice League Odyssey number 1. Guys, this is my favorite Justice League comic book so far, and it's just after one issue. It's really good. It's written by Joshua Williamson, and it's beautifully drawn by Sajin Sajic. Sorry about that. Or Stefan Sajic. Boy, I butchered that name. I apologize. Stefan Sajic, he does the beautiful cover. Does beautiful interiors on this art. It's absolutely beautiful. And this stars Darkseid and Starfire, and it stars a member of the Green Lantern Corps by the name of Jessica Cruz. I don't have a Jessica Cruz statue, so I have John Stewart filling in for her up here. It's all good. I don't have a Cyborg statue, and I don't have a Azrael one, but they're the other members. So what's the backstory here? This is what I like about this. This is Joshua Williamson, I think, does a reasonably good job of sort of building off the story that was contained in Justice League No Justice, which was a very confusing story, and I think he simplifies it considerably, and it makes for a really good opener here. Basically, in this issue, the team just sort of gets together. And Starfire and Cyborg, they got voices in their head, and Azrael's got voices in their head that sort of is compelling them to go into the part of the galaxy called the Ghost Sector. And it's called the Ghost Sector because basically planets that were no longer there, that used to be there, suddenly reappeared. And these planets existed millions of years ago, and at the time that they existed, the inhabitants of these older planets that suddenly have appeared again in the galaxy, they were inhabited by people that worshiped the old gods. And for whatever reason, these planets were basically shrunken and sort of kept hidden on the planet Kolu, which at the end of the Justice League No Justice series, they were basically released. And they were enlarged, and suddenly they encompass a brand new portion of the galaxy called the Ghost Sector, and Cyborg, Starfire, and Azrael find themselves being pulled into this Ghost Sector. And this Ghost Sector, when it appeared, it kind of scared the heck out of the Guardians of the Universe, who are, of course, the head of the Green Lantern Corps, and they appointed Jessica Cruz to sort of guard and make sure nobody enters the Ghost Sector. They're just checking it out. I mean, after all, if suddenly in the middle of the universe, all of a sudden a brand new planetary system appears with all these planets that were not there before, it's, they're just keeping an eye on it. Plus, there's a lot of strange energies in this particular Ghost Sector. Strange energies that make it difficult for certain ships to get through and are very deadly to even some metahumans that aren't protected. And in fact, even Jessica Cruz, even the ring of a Green Lantern can't protect the Green Lantern from some of the energies that are contained in this Ghost Sector, as Jessica Cruz finds out in this issue. Now, what's fascinating and interesting about this is that why is Darkseid in here? I mean, my God, we have a Justice League comic book with Darkseid, a member of the Justice League. What's his role in this? Well, what's very fascinating about this and the great setup for it, and this is minor spoiler territory, but trust me, the art here is so beautiful. You'll want to pick this up and read this for yourself. They're being pulled. Jessica Cruz is guarding the Ghost Sector when suddenly Starfire and Cyborg and Azrael appear in this ship, and she basically wants to make sure they don't enter the Ghost Sector. And of course, there's the sort of the typical trope of the superheroes at odds with each other, misunderstanding each other, so there's a little bit of an altercation between them. Ultimately, it's discovered, of course, that all the heroes are basically being pulled into that Ghost Sector, called by this voice. And when they get there, they meet up with Darkseid. Darkseid himself makes an appearance. Now, Darkseid looks a little different in this issue. He's a younger Darkseid, and for those of you who haven't been following what happened with Darkseid after Darkseid War, he ended up in the pages of Wonder Woman, because what happened at the end of Darkseid War is that Darkseid was essentially killed, and Superwoman gave birth to a new baby, which was the offspring of Superwoman and Alexander Luthor of Earth 3, and their son was sort of the reincarnated Darkseid. And this young baby of Darkseid was basically cared for by Darkseid's daughter Grail, and Grail helped kill and murder the sons and daughters of Zeus and captured their energies, and young Darkseid as a baby took these energies and grew to adulthood, until ultimately being defeated by Wonder Woman. It's a long story. Wonder Woman ultimately defeated Darkseid in a 20-issue arc written by James Robinson in Wonder Woman's comics. And Wonder Woman defeated Darkseid by essentially using her power of love to sort of suck out all the Greek god energy of the sons and daughters of Zeus, to suck the energy out of Darkseid, resulting in an explosion. And you thought Darkseid was dead, killed, but he suddenly reappeared as a younger man and a wandering amnesiac, and he sort of disappeared, only to reappear here in the pages of Justice League Odyssey for the first time since supposedly dying at the end of the pages of Wonder Woman. Now, what's interesting about this is Darkseid tells the tale that his father used to tell him, and basically the story that Darkseid's father used to tell him was the same one that we already know. The stories of the Source Wall, the stories of something behind the Source Wall, and he also heard these stories of these old planets that used to worship older gods, and that Kolu, the people of Kolu, wanted to hide. They shrunk these planets for a reason, and why we don't really know. What was the secret that was being kept? All we know is that the citizens of these planets worshipped old gods, and what's fascinating is that apparently Starfire is one of those old gods, or essentially one of the reincarnated aspects of those old gods, and so is Cyborg, and so is Azrael. That's really interesting. So maybe they're more than just heroes. They're actually old gods. Darkseid is fascinated by this, because what Darkseid does, Darkseid wants to reignite and sort of revitalize, bring back what he calls a new multiverse. He wants to bring forth a new age of the multiverse. And this doesn't really surprise me, because with the Source Wall breaking, you got to remember that the old remember the old map of the DC multiverse? I say old, it's not that old. I think of multiversity. Remember that there's only one apocalypse and there's only one new Genesis. In all the 52 Earths, there's only one apocalypse and one new Genesis. And so there was that. What that means is that there was only ever one Darkseid. There's only ever been one embodiment of Darkseid. And so Darkseid's goal was always to rule not only Apocalypse, but to rule the multiverse. And so the fact that the Source Wall is broken, and that all the stories that Darkseid's father used to tell him about the Dark Universe and the Source Wall being true, Darkseid wants, he's like Thanos. He's going to want to be at the forefront of it. He's going to want to control that. And at least that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that Darkseid's going to embrace his legacy and at least be as awesome in the DC universe as Thanos is in the Marvel universe. That's what I'm hoping. And the idea that the Source Wall being broken, the idea that all this darkness is coming into our universe, it makes sense that Darkseid want to be in control of this. I just want to draw one thing else here. I want to make one other point here that I think is important. Over in the pages of Justice League, issue number 8, Scott Snyder, the story goes that apparently the Batman Who Laughs told Lex Luthor about a woman named Perpetua, who was basically, the Source Wall kept her imprisoned. And that the Source Wall didn't just keep the 7 forces hidden from the universe, but hidden from our universe, the 7 deadly forces of which we only know 2 of at this time, the Steel Force and the Ultraviolet Core. That the Source Wall existed to also imprison a woman who embodied all these 7 forces by the name of Perpetua. I openly wonder, does Darkseid know of this woman named Perpetua? Did Darkseid's father tell him the story about Perpetua? Is he aware of it? One gets the sense here that Darkseid knows a lot more than he briefly led on to. We only got a couple pages of Darkseid's dialogue here, but it's really good. It's very interesting. I'm really intrigued to see where this is taking us. This is much easier to read, easier to follow. Guys, tell me what you think of this issue. I think Joshua Williamson, the writer, who's also a writer on The Flash, I think he's done a pretty good job on here. And this is only the opening issue, and hats off to Stefan Sejic. Fantastic job in the art. I give the art here an 8.5, and I give the story a 9. Guys, tell me what you think in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter at Metropolis40. And until next time, Comic Boom out.